lot of questions about what stepper motors and what motors to use with the TB3. We have this auxiliary stepper port on the side that you can plug something else in. The most important thing to know is that we use bipolar stepper drivers. And if you're looking at these things, they have 4 leads attached to them. They're stepper motors, and what that means is that we can step in a very precise distance each and every time. As long as we're not overdriving these things or skipping them, we know exactly where these motors are, which is how we get repeatable stepper or repeatable motion control in all 3 axes. So first thing, when you're plugging something into the side of the TB3, it's got to be a stepper motor and it's got to be 4-wire. Next thing people always are asking is, what sort of motor should I buy? What sort of gear ratio do I need? And it comes in a whole lot of different gear ratios, and there's a lot of ones out there that will give you a balance of either speed or power. So let's chat about that for a second. The one we were just shooting with is a very short gear stack. There's not very much gear reduction in here. This is our 5-to-1, and what this means is it's really fast. It's only reducing the speed of this by 5 times before we get to the output shaft. So what we get is a lot of speed, but we don't get a ton of power, which means that you can't use this motor if you're using a dolly in a vertical configuration, lifting a heavy load. It's just not going to work. Also, by hand, you can go through and spin this thing, which means that if you're trying to rest your entire rig using a small stepper motor or using this low gear ratio stepper motor vertically, you can drive this motor backwards and slide your cart back down the rail. Alternatively, we have the heavier 27-to-1, which means we've got a few more gears in here, we've got a lot more gear reduction. It also means that this output shaft is turning a little bit slower. Very powerful, but not as fast, and so setup can take you a little bit longer. Added benefit of having a heavier gearbox is you can't turn this thing by hand. It takes a lot of torque to be able to backspin this. So if you're using a vertical shot on this 27-to-1 motor for time-lapse is a great place to start. If you're shooting a lot of horizontal video, and you want to have faster setup, well, the smaller, faster, less powerful, or less torquey 5-to-1 is probably a good way to go. There's actually a few motors in between. I've got one right over here. This is a 13-to-1, and there's also a 19-to-1. We're figuring out which ones to carry. We actually have some 19 ones in stock right now. So which motor to choose? The slow, powerful 27-to-1 or 26-to-1 motor, or the faster, less powerful 5-to-1? Well, if you're shooting a lot of time-lapse and you want to lift a heavy load, we recommend you stick with the 27-to-1. If you're shooting a lot of horizontal moves and you want a little bit faster setup, go with the 5-to-1. You can also order both, and if you have a quick mount change system and you're using a dolly system like this, it's easy to swap on out.